This day in sports history. Hey, and welcome to This Day in Sports History. It's December 12th, and on this day, I have the continuation of a story that I started back on the 6th about the early days of the NFL and the forgotten 1925 Pottsville Maroons. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Listen up, Christmas is quickly approaching. And you know what would make a great stocking stuffer for everybody in your family? Sterling soap. From bar soap to shave soap, beard balm to lip balm, aftershaves and lotions, Sterling Soap has something for everyone on your list. Check out their seasonal soaps that will complement the scents of your home this holiday season. And they also have a full line of coffee to choose from straight from the Sterling Roastery. Find their full line of products at sterlingsoap.com. They had been warned. They were told that their hard-earned designation of NFL champion would be nullified if they played the game. There would also be additional sanctions for their blatant disregard for a league rule. And yet, the league rule that Pottsville was supposed to be breaking was not in print. A league representative just a week before had given Pottsville owner Doc Striegel the okay to play the game. Besides, a binding contract to play the game had been signed already. Tickets had been sold. The teams were on their way to play it. If they bowed to an unwritten and nonsensical rule, well, there would be lawsuits and remuneration that would put them in financial peril. They had no choice but to play it. Rules and consequences be damned. Now, 6 days earlier, the Pottsville Maroons from the small coal mining town of Pottsville, Pennsylvania, had beaten the Cardinals from the mighty metropolis of Chicago 21-7 to lay claim to the unofficial title of champion of the NFL. Everybody recognized what they had done. The league office in Columbus, Ohio, begrudgingly acknowledged this first-year team from tiny town Pennsylvania as such. In fact, they were holding this title over Pottsville's head like the sword of Damocles to try to prevent them from playing the game on this day against the mighty Notre Dame Fighting Irish, a team of All-Stars that had won the national championship in 1924. It was an exhibition game to be played at Shibe Park in Philadelphia, but this game had the gravitas of our present-day Super Bowl, and the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets were jealous that they were not playing in it. They'd arranged the game to begin with, knowing it would be a huge payday for them. But just 2 weeks prior, this game against the Irish had been put up as a reward to go to the winner of the Frankfurt-Pottsville game. And when the Maroons embarrassed the Yellow Jackets 49-0 on that day, by the terms of the pregame agreement, Pottsville got the rights to play the game at Shibe Park in Philadelphia on this day. Now, if you remember back to the December 6th edition of This Dish, that win also led to the hurried arrangement of the game in Chicago on the 6th, and the subsequent win put Pottsville on the pedestal as NFL champion. But in the hours and days following that win in Chicago, the Yellow Jackets owner filed a protest with the league office, citing a rule of proximity and that Pottsville was invading its territory. The Maroons thought the claim was frivolous. Teams invaded territory all the time in this era of the NFL to play exhibition games, to sell tickets and make money. Heck, there were two teams in Chicago, the Bears and the Cardinals already. The game had to go on. Contracts had been signed, tickets had been sold. Teams were on the way. And so on this day, the Pottsville Maroons lined up against the famed Four Horsemen of Harry Stuhldrayer, Elmer Layton, Don Midnight Miller, and Jim Sleepy Crowley and a Notre Dame All-Star team. To hell with the league and the silly, unenforceable rule. Now, the Maroons were not expected to win. Heck, they weren't even expected to be able to hang with a team of collegians that had been part of the 1924 unbeaten national championship team. This is when college football was king, and the pro game was thought to be dying a slow, agonizing death. But even minutes before kickoff, there were still doubts that the game would actually be played. Streetlife wanted the team's money in his hands. Deep in the bowels of Shibe Park, he was in a heated discussion with the game's promoter, Frank Schumann. The team had been promised $25,000, $5,000 up front, and the rest was supposed to have been placed in an escrow account by the 5th. So far, Streetlife had only seen a fraction of that money, and he was refusing to send his guys onto the field unless he got it in his palm. Schumann reluctantly agreed. Money was handed over, and the Irish All-Star team took the field. But now, Pottsville wanted its share. They'd been promised just $6,000, and the stakes were much higher for them. Probable fines and suspension from the league hung over their heads. Doc Striegel wanted additional money to pay the fines and the lost revenue from games that were more than likely going to be canceled because of what they were about to do. Kickoff was supposed to be 2 p.m., but as the clock ticked past 2:15, 2:20, 2:30, the Maroons waited. With a press box full of media men ready at their typewriters, a stand full of mostly Notre Dame supporters, and a feisty bunch of coal country Pennsylvanians rounding out the raucous crowd ready to go crazy, Schumann finally relented and agreed to pay an additional $3,500 to cover lost revenue. The Maroons emerged from the tunnel and took the field as well. Now, in the first half, the game went about like people figured it would. The Irish lined up in their T formation before transforming into their box offense, shifting into a variety of trapezoidal formations that they ran plays with extra blockers, used a wingman on a reverse, or passed out of. The offense was a blur, and the Irish toyed with the Maroons, moving the ball with ease down the field. They dominated Pottsville so much in the first half that the game seemed to be more a vaudeville act than football. And yet, the Irish All-Stars only managed to score 7 points, Layden going across from a yard out. Penalties prevented the Irish All-Stars from scoring more. Long runs were nullified by illegal procedure. Pass plays that gobbled up yards were called back. The Irish Stars thought they would be getting a little preferential treatment from the referees, since everybody except that small pocket of fans in maroon was there to see them play. And yet the penalties kept on coming, so much so that the Irish confronted linesman Eddie Bennis. Words were shouted, fingers poked into his chest, boos rained down on him from the stands. It got so heated that Pottsville players thought that the referee might be in danger, and so they stepped in to help him out. And that sparked something inside of the Maroons. These pretty boy college kids thought they were too good to be penalized. The Maroons went to the locker room at half, down 7-0. That little ignition got more fuel tossed on it when a telegram arrived in the locker room a few minutes later from Joe Carr, the de facto commissioner of the NFL, stating that Pottsville would indeed be fined $500. Any future games they had planned would be canceled. They'd be suspended from operating in the NFL, and the championship they'd won the week before would not be recognized. All for encroaching on Frankfurt's territory and playing the Irish. Now, reminiscent of the movie Major League, the players basically said, "Screw it, let's go win the whole damn thing." The Maroons came back on the field in the second half with a much different attitude. Pottsville took the opening kickoff back 44 yards, and if it had not been for a horse-collar tackle, they would have scored on the kickoff. An unsportsmanlike penalty on the Irish moved the ball even further into their territory. Entering the game at that point was Tony, the human howitzer Latone. He'd broken his arm 2 weeks prior, but now he was ready to inflict some damage. Play after play after play, Latone plunged his injured and battered body into the middle of the line, driving the pile closer to the goal line. With the ball on the 3, Pottsville changed it up slightly. Using Latone as a decoy in an early version of the play-action pass, Latone barreled forward without the ball while the quarterback faded back in the pocket. The Irish over-pursued, and Latone was wide open for the touchdown toss. Pottsville had scored, but the PAT was missed, and they still trailed 7-6. In the fourth quarter, The Maroons got the ball back. The Irish Stars knew what was coming their way, but they could not stop the human howitzer. Play after play, handoff after handoff, Latone drove the pile down the field, at one point converting 5 straight first downs. One writer typed, "It was one of the most remarkable exhibitions ever seen on a football field." Finally, the drive stalled out at the Irish 18. With time growing short, Maroons captain and kicker Charlie Berry trotted into position to kick the potential game winner. He stepped back to the 30-yard line and dug his heel into the dirt where he wanted the ball placed. Now, he had missed the PAT earlier, and he'd only been successful on 3 of his 9 field goal attempts that season, and none of his makes were longer than 29 yards. Berry eyed his target, took a deep breath in, blew it out, and gave the signal to his holder. The snap from Herb Stein was sharp. Jack Ernst caught it and put it on the ground. As another sports scribe wrote, Berry swung his agile hoof. There was a crash of ball and foot, and the crowd, awed into silence, held their breaths as the sphere soared and skipped straight for the crossbar. It continued on an upward trajectory, and it split the uprights. Pottsville 9, Notre Dame 7. Now, that has been described as the seminal moment when professional football surpassed the college game. The Pottsville fans burst into a thunderous cheer. They'd done it. They had beaten the mighty Irish and the vaunted Four Horsemen. The Maroons, at least to those unaware of the backstage drama that had been playing out for 6 days, were not only the champs of the NFL, but were now world champions. The win gave legitimacy and gravitas to the National Football League. And then it all crashed down around them. The Maroons, that is. Despite requests to see in writing the rule that the Maroons had broken, none was presented because it didn't exist. Pleas were heard and rejected. They were done, but they could apply for reinstatement under certain conditions. And now, sensing a way to claim the vacated NFL championship, the Chicago Cardinals scheduled 2 quick games against teams with a combined win total of 1. They won both of those games easily, and because of having the better win percentage in the league that season, claimed the title of NFL champion of 1925. Pottsville did apply for reinstatement, and after promising not to press the issue anymore and not embarrass the league again, they were allowed to play in 1926. A tie and a loss in the final 2 weeks cost them a shot at the championship title. The Maroons played their final season in Pottsville in 1928, winning just 2 games and finishing 8th in the league. They moved to Boston for 1 season before folding after the 1929 season. Through the years, efforts have been made on behalf of the team to reinstate their stolen championship of 1925. The Bidwell family bought the Cardinals in 1932, and from that point forward, they have used their power to deny any recognition of the Pottsville Maroons' 1925 championship. The Cardinals are still listed as champs for that year. Most have forgotten about the Pottsville Maroons, but those who do remember and who still keep the hope alive that one day, maybe just one day in the future, their moment of glory could be restored, say, we'll always have those 6 days between the Chicago game and the Notre Dame game. And for those 6 glorious days, no one can deny that the Pottsville Maroons were champions of the world. That's going to do it for this episode. There's obviously more sports history that happened on this day, so what I'll do is repost the episode I did last year, and it's listed right below this one. Thanks for listening to this episode, and I'll be back with more this day in sports history. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.